You just ran a stop sign.
Yeah, I know. We're going to get caught there one of these days. Thomas J. Hicks. He owned all this here and he owned all this in there. He's got a little house out here. It's about rotted down. This little house he used to come and live. This is, my cousin lives here.
Well, is he my cousin too?
He's your cousin too. Now Clarence and Ruth, Joe and Earl and Evelyn come to school to it. Schoolhouse sat right before that grave here. They call this Panwell Cemetery. That was this road's name. And that's right there, Brown Road. He donated the land to put this up here. This will all come into one cemetery one of these days. Me and Evelyn went to MCCAYSVILLE School. I'm not sure that she came up here, but I know Earl did. And Evelyn may not have. Joe and Earl and Ruth and Clarence come up here. And me and Evelyn, I think it may be, Evelyn may have come up here one year. But me and her, you know where First Baptist is? Down here. They had a building in behind it. The First Baptist burnt a few years ago. The church burnt. It was altogether different looking what this building is now. And they had a great big building back in the back of it. It didn't have no rooms in it. And we went in there. There's Miss Taylor was our teacher. And I was in the second grade and Evelyn was in the third grade. And both of us went in that same building. She'd give us our lessons and she'd give them their lessons. I believe we sat on the left side of it and the third grade sat on the right side of it. And then we went down there, I think, for a couple of years like that. And then we went into, I went in, let's see, I know I was in the second and third grade down there. Then I went in the fourth grade in the new building when they built the new school. They had, over there where the police station is now, was a 4-room schoolhouse. 4 rooms downstairs, 4 rooms upstairs, give them 8 rooms, give them 8 classes, but that's full. So people that lived on this side of the river went down to the First Baptist Church for those 2 years. And then they had MCCAYSVILLE School built. And then when I was in Korea, MCCAYSVILLE School burnt. And then they built another new building up there. Now they're fixing to destroy it. It's just sitting up there now, but they're going to tear it down. They're going to put a road over through where the schoolhouse is set, and it goes on down, and there's going to be a bridge come across it, and it's going in Tennessee. My grandfather's one started, and he was buried here in 1921. This where Aunt Laura buried here. Your daddy had, I told him I was getting that, putting it up. And then he said, well, let me pay for it. I put on the back of it, provided by Homer Jr. and Juanita Hughes. And then he called me and he said, could you have in memory of Mary put on it? And then this is Josh here. And then this is my daughter. She was born November the 14th and died February. And then this is Mama's grave here. She was born in July the 2nd in 1904. And Daddy was born July the 12th, 1895. Then she died February the 8th. They got the 9th put on that, which don't matter. My daddy died January the 31st, 1943. He's 47 years old. I was 11 years old. This was Pearl here. That May the 9th is when she was born in 33. Like a month and a day, being 4 years old. I still remember her telling me that her dress was on fire like it was yesterday. And I was 5 years old, and now I'm 91, so it's been 86 years ago. She got burned up along about where Joe's house is there, where Paulette's house is now. Me and her went up there. Joe and Earl had 2 little old caves. And this was in the spring of the year. And Joe said one day, he said, I'm going to go up there and burn that grass up and let it grow back green so our calves can eat it. So me and Pearl went with him. And we had a fence up there then. We had a barn set up there and a feed house then behind it. So we went up to the side of the feed house and he set that grass on fire. And then there's a big ditch come off from that hill. And he went across the ditch and set that on. And then Pearl looked at me and said, Glenn, my dress is on fire. Well, I hollered at Joe. I wasn't but 4 years old, 5 years old. Joe come running across over there and trying to put her out, and he burned his arms all the way up through here like that. John Gibb lived over there, and he heard Joe hollered. Mom and them was in here, the wind was blowing, the doors was closed, and they couldn't hear her. So Charles looked out and he said, something's wrong. And he come over here, and I remember seeing him coming up this hill. And he had a black leather jacket on. And before he got up there, he pulled that jacket off and then just wrapped her up over that jacket. And that put it out, but she done got all that flame in her throat, down in her lungs, and she died that night. And Joe was all burned on both sides. Had to feed him and everything for a period of time. He tried hard to put her out, but it was just more than he could do. And I was scared to death. All I done was stood there and hold on to that fence. Our grandmother, I was 4 years old when she died. I can vaguely remember her. I remember her wearing an apron all the time. And there at the house, she lived with Mom and Daddy. He is dead 10 years before I was born. Joe M.
So that's my great-granddad.
That's your great-granddad. My uncle was named Manuel.
He was your dad's brother, and he lived with y'all some.
He lived all my life with us. Now this is his sister right here. She was born in 97. And this is another one of their sisters right here. Marjorie L. Lou, and she married Duggar Wright. She is my daddy's sister. All right, this is Mary Carey. She was her daughter. That's how they brought the Caroleys in us. I got brothers on one side and sisters on the other. It's all calling this Panwell Cemetery. And I went to the courthouse and I asked the people up there, the deeds, I said, what do you have on Panwell Cemetery? They said, we don't have a Panwell Cemetery at all. They have nothing on it. I said, what do you have on PANTERTOWN Cemetery? And they gave me a deed. So I said, can this deed be changed? And she said, and no way. So I said, well, we'll go back to the name of PANTERTOWN.
And why they pronounce it Paintertown?
Well, this is Paintertown area.
I mean, it's not spelled like that.
It is too. It's one word.